The old Angel Reese just got away with a good old shove to the face of Kikiri event.
Marina Marbury shoves Caitlin Clark to the ground after she's slashed in the eye by one player, rushed by another. Like, I can clearly see why some of y'all teams in the WNBA are just not successful, bro. Like, y'all don't know how to act. We just gonna call it for...
Welcome to the WNBA, where the rules seem to shift from game to game. Angel Reese throws a punch, Marina Marbury shoves someone, and the refs barely blink. But when Sophie Cunningham makes even the slightest move, she's ejected like she started. A full-blown fight. So what's going on here? Is this basketball or just a running joke? One thing's for sure, the officiating is a mess. And things are only getting more heated from here.
Left and all hell broke loose between J.C. Sheldon and Sophie Cunningham, and it is very clear the Indiana Fever, some of these girls on this team are finally fed up. Finally fed up. Once again, WNBA, we're not talking about your basketball. We're talking about the WNBA WWE Raw circus that you got going on right now, and we all know this incident with Sophie stems from the incident that was clearly not handled correctly by the WNBA.
Then came the slap, not some movie stunt, but real chaos right there on the court with Angel Reese at the center of it. It looked more like wrestling than basketball. A clear open-hand smack caught live on TV, leaving fans stunned and snacks flying. You'd think the refs would step in, right? Not a chance. No call, no reaction, just a random whistle for something unrelated, maybe a loose shoelace.
We are going through this with Angel Reese again? Another instance where Angel Reese shows a complete lack of self-control? Another instance where Angel Reese loses her temper? What is this? The second time this week this has happened? At least in the first instance, Angel Reese was somewhat justified in her reaction. Some anonymous player was pulling on her hair, which can be a very scary situation for some players in the
The crowd was stunned, expecting a technical, a flagrant something from the league. But no, if you make a scene and post a selfie after, it gets labeled as passion. Meanwhile, in a different game with what feels like an entirely separate rulebook, Sophie Cunningham barely plays defense and gets ejected like she committed a major offense. What exactly did she do? Breathe too hard? Compete too hard? Maybe her ponytail was just too intimidating.
At the end of the game, J.C. Sheldon is going for a fast break layup and Sophie Cunningham is running with her. And I remember in my head, like, it happened in a split second and I said, oh, let's see. Let's see what happens here. Sophie commits a hard foul on J.C. Sheldon. Again, as J.C. Sheldon is going up for a layup, Sophie bear hugs her and takes her to the ground. What I will say is Sophie did not grab her and throw her to the ground. She didn't body slam her. She didn't do anything, in my personal opinion.
Either way, Sophie was tossed faster than a kid at a no-kids party. Try making sense of it. Right now, WNBA officiating feels like it's being run by a magic 8-ball on a caffeine kick. Should Angel Reese's slap be called? Apparently not. Should Sophie get ejected for barely reacting? Definitely. The inconsistency isn't subtle, it's glaring. Angel's slap was obvious to everyone, but somehow it just got brushed off as passion.
Like, Sophie might have wanted a piece of JC after the Caitlin Clark and JC kind of scuffle going on, right? Then this happened, okay? The fast break, you see Sheldon taking it. After getting a steal, Sophie wraps her arms around her. Now, this is normal, okay? In my opinion, this is normal. This is a hard foul. She just didn't want her to get a shot up on the fast break, send her to the line. She just grabbed.
But Sophie, she showed a little too much fire, and for that, she got tossed like a rocket launch. It felt like watching a game. where one player gets flagged for the tiniest thing, while another can get away with just about anything. And this wasn't some blink and you miss it moment, the cameras caught every angle. The slow-motion replay made it crystal clear. Social media lit up. Analysts were furious, and commentators scrambled to explain it away like fairness had suddenly left the building. Still, no technical, no flagrant nothing. Just silence from the refs. Meanwhile, Sophie plays with purpose, locked in, tough, defending like her team's depending on her. But instead of getting respect, she's treated like she came in swinging with brass knuckles. It's like someone decided that defending Caitlin Clark makes you too intense. Apparently, the only acceptable way to protect the league's biggest star is with a light clap and a smile. It's not just unfair, it's flat out ridiculous.
I think the officiating towards this one team definitely is going to have to be very closely monitored and made sure that it is called as fairly as possible. Because I think that last night, a lot happened. There were 6 technical fouls issued, there were 3 ejections, and there were 2 flagrant fouls. For one game, that is bananas. A lot of it is centered around the last 46 seconds where Sophie Cunningham hard fouls JC Sheldon. She gets ejected, JC gets ejected, does Lindsay? I think Lindsay gets ejected. And you know, in watching the broadcast, even the broadcasters at the time mentioned if they would have just ejected Marina Mabrey, this probably would.
Another game, Marina Mabrey shoved Caitlin Clark like she was squeezing into a packed elevator. Once again, the refs barely reacted. Clark hit the floor and the officials just let it go. But when Sophie Cunningham stands up, speaks out, and plays with real heart, she's the one who gets penalized. The pattern's getting hard to ignore. If you defend Caitlin Clark, the refs zero in on you. Meanwhile, others get away with pushing and shoving like it's nothing. It's like watching a kid's tea party where one kid can flip the table and scream at the cookies while another gets a timeout for using the wrong spoon. The double standards are out of control. So what's the actual rule book? Is there a secret ref manual that says, slap someone if you're trending on TikTok? The league claims it wants passion and fire, but only when it fits the narrative. The moment a player like Sophie stands her ground, she's treated like she crossed a line.
Why did Caitlin Clark get a technical foul? After the foul, she reacted in an unsportsmanlike manner. So, she got clawed in the eye, then got belly bumped, and then kind of tried to get away from somebody after belly bumping her, and then walked around holding her eye, and then got blindsided onto the ground. While holding one of her eyes, she gets hit on this side onto the ground, into the referee. That is responding in an unsportsmanlike manner. What is she meant to?
Let's be real, more and more fans are watching these games with serious doubt. It's not just about missed calls anymore. It's about how certain calls only seem to happen to certain players. Slaps get ignored. Shoves go unnoticed. But if you so much as try to defend Caitlin Clark, you're out of the game on the spot. And fans aren't fooled. They can see exactly what's going on. Highlight clips are everywhere, and the pattern is obvious. You don't need to be a basketball expert to notice when one player hits someone and walks away with nothing, while another gets ejected just for showing up. And the post-game coverage? It spins things like a magic act. A slap gets labeled a misunderstanding, a shove is competitive. Fire! But Sophie? She's painted as too aggressive just for doing what teammates are supposed to do, stand up and play with heart. It's getting harder to explain to new fans why some players get the benefit of the doubt while others get hit with the full weight of the whistle. Angel Reese slapped someone, plain and simple. Marina Mabrey shoved Clark hard enough to knock her down. That wasn't a love tap, it was a clear push.
Fever and son hold a brawl and a basketball game breaks out. This was something. Caitlin Clark, without question, gets raked across the face. I think she gets poked in the eye, but it's difficult to tell.
If you're the Indiana Fever, you cannot stand by and let that happen. They need to make it clear to the officials. If you're going to let this happen, then we're going to stand up for our player and make a mess of the game, and you're going to have a big mess on your hands. So you need to stand up for this. You need to do something about this.
You've just learned with definitive data and beyond question that Caitlin Clark controls more than half the audience for the
barely blinked at Angel Reese's slap or Marina Mabry's shove. But Sophie? She brings too much "don't mess with my team" energy and gets tossed like she cursed someone's shoes. That's not fair. That's just bad officiating. Even the ball looks confused, like it's thinking, wait, was that a foul? No? Okay, guess we're just winging it. Here's the truth. WNBA officiating has lost its consistency. Lately, it feels based on vibes, who's trending, who looks confident, who's front and center on the highlight reel. That's not just unfair, it's a terrible way to run a sport. Fans notice. And when they do, they stop trusting what they're watching. People don't tune in for a reality show. They want real basketball, fair calls, and rules that apply to everyone. Until the league gets serious about calling things straight, players like Sophie Cunningham will keep getting punished for playing tough and doing their job. Meanwhile, slaps, shoves, and drama will keep getting written off as intensity. And yeah, Sophie got ejected, but for what? Exactly? We're all still waiting on the league's magic 8-ball to decide.
Okay? It was a lot going on. The Indiana Fever was able to defeat them in that game, but Sophie Cunningham, they said that she has gone too far. This is not the first time that people have accused Sophie Cunningham of just, doing way too much, being too physical, almost being an aggressive bully in the WNBA. And people are now calling for Caitlin Clark, as well as Sophie Cunningham, as well as Marina Mabry, and as well as JC Sheldon to get flagrant 1 fouls. Now, I'm going to tell you in this article what exactly the WNBA is going to do.